Hi, everyone, and happy full moon. It is actually precisely full as we're speaking. And well, it's the last full moon actually that will be so precisely aligned with Pluto for a time at least. It is at 27 degrees Virgo Pisces axis, a very interesting axis that we will go into shortly. But I thought I'd mention the Sabian symbol for the full moon, which is 28 degrees Virgo, and I have it written down here. I thought it was very interesting because, oh my, haven't it been, well, it depends how much drama you're into, but interesting living on Earth these last weeks. Not only has there been where in Australia, where Cosmic Intelligence Agency have their eminent leader, Julia Simas, been a large flood. There's been so much water coming down from the skies, and particularly areas on the north, what would that be, northeast coast, have been extremely affected by this. And in Northern Europe, we've had quite another kind of flood, rain. It's been raining bombs over Ukraine, and it's not very. It is something you really feel if you live in the northern hemisphere. So it's been a challenging time for our psychological immune system, and I'm sure there's been more than these two events that I've been mentioning, but it goes to show a little bit what we have been experiencing during this last few weeks when first Jupiter was conjunct, no, the Sun was conjunct Jupiter in Pisces. That would be 2 weeks ago. And then last weekend, it was conjunct Neptune in Pisces. And that particular conjunction between Neptune and Pisces was very important in terms of where you are today. But first, let me just share with you Virgo 28, a bald-headed man. A bald-headed man in uniform has seized power. Now that is, wow, that's very interesting symbol for this particular degree. Um, Now I'm not sure if Putin is entirely bald, but he certainly seems a little bald-headed to me. And I think the coming days will be extremely important in terms of how things will be settling in this particular conflict, because it's not just a local conflict. This is it's carrying some large undertones of global chaos in it, and we've seen prices rising on gas and electricity in particular, but also food, and it's affecting quite a bit of quite a lot of us, not just people living in Europe, but also in the United States. We've seen an increase in gas prices. And it sort of reminds us that we are, in a way, vulnerable to the extent that we are very dependent on each other. And it's hard to kind of avoid this understanding that we are in this together as times are unfolding. A lot of people talk about anti-globalism and would love to have more sovereignty and autonomy within their particular country. But as we've been progressing through the 21st century, I think it's also starting to become extremely evident that a lot of these globalistic trading routes and international cooperations are already very intertwined and interdependent. So it is definitely part of what I consider belongs to the axis of Pisces Virgo, which is Pisces, on the one hand, we are all one. We are all in this together. We are sharing the same sky, and the sky does not have any boundaries. Now, that is important to remember as we're facing bigger ecological challenges. How we solve that will be, of course, there will be a lot of fight about that, of course, as usual, but it's not necessarily something we have a choice about. And this is what we get to when we get to Pisces. It's a place where there's something beyond our own personal ego will that takes over and makes it impossible for us to have any kind of saying in it, because what needs to be has to be. It's not up for discussion, and that's exactly how Mother Nature would probably put us in a position of having to be forced to cooperate, not because we want to, but because it's a matter of survival, and it's a matter of having the minimum basis covered for most Earth citizens. Now, the details, of course, I will not get into it. My strength is not geopolitics, and I think it's not particularly sound or healthy to go into debates about this online for the time being, because there is such a polarized atmosphere these days. And to be quite honest, this is the time to take care of your health, and I'm not sure if that would be so healthy for you. And it's actually something that also belongs to this axis, because it has to do with you being able to enjoy life, even though there are, people around you suffering, or you live in a world that's suffering. It doesn't mean you have to suffer along with it. Actually, you shouldn't, because you will deteriorate your own health. Now, how can we allow ourselves to be happy in the midst of chaos and war and darkness and destruction? That would be an interesting journey, and it has to do with you being able to, that on one end, being aware of that you are part of an integral whole. Virgo is a sign that pertains to a certain initiation of the body, an initiation as described, if we take a peek at the esoteric lore, as the first initiation, the initiation that has to do with us understanding that we're not an island unto ourselves. Whatever we send out, if we look at ourselves as small radio transmitters, affects our surroundings. Now, if we just become echoes for whatever the neighbor says or whatever the collective unconscious communicates, if we become almost like a microphone stand for those collective emotions, we actually, without knowing it, strengthen the underlying diseases, if we want to call it something, the diseased energy. And when I say diseased, I mean misaligned, in the sense that it's not aligned with the soul. And of course, you might debate this. Is it important to kind of fight a war? Is it important for me to engage? Is it important to have an opinion that is either correct in that way or correct in the other way? It depends on, who do you want to be correct for or with? I mean, what is your intuition telling you is the truth? But we all feel a duty to engage. And it's also something that I think a lot of people demand from us. I've seen a lot of shaming going on lately. Now, that's also a theme for Virgo, shaming. Lovely. Shaming that we didn't care enough about the refugees from other parts of the country, that we are we're not good enough with that part. We don't care enough about those people. Like, this shaming constantly occurs in our society and makes it a little bit difficult to engage fully in anything, because somebody's going to shame you that you didn't engage in something else equally fervently. Now, of course, for me, that is a situation, an energy situation that I do not want to engage in because I see it as a little bit diseased. It's misaligned with soul. Soul will naturally strengthen you. Soul will naturally make you healthy. Soul will increase your capacity to fend off any viruses that might carry any sort of toxic load and enter into your system and becoming one with you. And then you might even start marketing this type of virus yourself. And if anything, COVID showed us is that this virus is very particular. It's like it's been organized in such a way um, that we might even think like, it seems that I'm enhancing it when I'm not caring too much about it. It's diminished in a way. Now, I'm not going to go all quantum physics on you, although it's very tempting. Um, but we do have a say. It's not like our input doesn't matter. And that's the first initiation. When you start taking responsibility for whatever you transmit, you also start taking responsibility for what you want that to be. Now, if you allow yourself to stay in a healthy space, and that reminds me of this brilliant lyrics that Lauryn Hill gave out last year. I am in a secret space. I keep a sacred space. A sacred space. You're in this secret place, you keep a sacred space. Now, there's something sacred about both Virgo and Pisces. If you just take the energy up a notch, if you get that place where you're, without going full on Puritan, where there's a certain purified expression coming through, something is clean, pure. Now, there's the theme of Puritanism in this particular axis. And if you take it into a level where we get into a situation where we're supposed to have meanings about things, our opinions matters, etc. It's about getting the most politically correct opinion, of course, the most honorable one, the most righteous one. You get righteousness there, right? You when you get the most yeah, oh, look at my opinions. Like sometimes I get this feeling it's like my opinions are so great, yours are not, of course. Now, of course, I'm making it a little ironic, but if you get up a level, and you start seeing things also, you see your ego and you see, oh dear Lord, look at that one. well, better rein it in because it's running away with me in one way or another. And you start seeing this, how much vanity we have in our opinions, how much vanity we have in our personas about being the righteous ones, because we've been taught to be so. It's not necessarily something we do because we are extremely competitive or something. It's something we've been taught to be because we're born in sin or whatever, and we're supposed to be good. That's what we're supposed to be. So I think it matters a lot for us that we do the right thing. Inside, we want to be good. I think that goes for everyone. We want to be good. Now, how we get to that is where I'm trying to get to myself right now. But if we try to get ourselves up above this right and wrong and correct and not correct and pure and impure and good and evil, you start seeing another kind of um, truth that is beyond judgment. And it is something that I've been thinking should be part of this month's menu, actually. Since we're in Pisces, we have to talk about forgiving. We have to talk about forgiveness. It's part of Pisces. It's very, very difficult theme, especially today we see a conflict that's brewing on old grudges. Basically, that's what it is, old energy. That's how I see it. It's as I try to see the world and from an energy perspective, I see, oh, this is very old. Very familiar stuff. I've seen this one before. And it seems like we're very justified in our grudges and we're insisting for justice. Of course, justice is an inner principle we're all striving for. And it's something in nature that just says, no, that's not fair. No, it has to be fair. So we keep pushing these grudges ahead of us and creating the same situation over and over again because we're not willing to forgive. It's a path of love that we're not quite certain is a good path because we think love is such a weak energy that everybody would just come and suck us dry if we were walking around here in love. And I think, yeah, that would be a misunderstanding of what love would be because the most fierce people I've known and met on this planet are also the most loving ones. And, love is truth. So truth is part of love, and therefore abuse cannot happen in love. So it's sort of a self protective mechanism because anything projected onto love will be revealed if it is love, you know? It won't be the pleasing, I'm pleasing you to be safe kind of energy that often comes up when at the lower ends of the Pisces Virgo axis. You might have a kind of service attitude where we're serving others, where we're thinking just because they need something from us, we have to provide that for them. And you get this kind of distortion of what service really is. Service is not about self-annihilation. Service is not about eliminating yourself, but that's how it turned out to be. And there's a great deal of honor evidently doing so. I'm so and so, we give prizes to people who does that, which is quite unhealthy actually. So when you get your view a little bit up, as I heard Sadhguru say actually in Joe Rogan's show yesterday, I tuned in to a podcast, which I rarely do. And he said that, the only way to solve, I can't do this English Indian. I would love to do it though, but I might insult someone. So the only way to get the energy up, to help people is to heighten the frequency. That's what he said. And I'm like, I couldn't agree more. I was like going around on the street nodding. Yes, 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 agreed. And that's when you start seeing service from a different point of view. You start seeing that serving yourself is part of serving the whole. So it's a non-dualism that starts to occur in you, and you see that even in war, you are actually, for your own health, for the health of your children, for the health of the people in your community, for the service of everything around you, it is your duty to actually have a certain kind of health within yourself. Now, what is health? There is, an understanding about health from an earthly perspective that has to do with, if you, you get into Virgo, you get into routines. You have to sleep enough, you have to eat healthy, you have to do this and that and that and this, and then you'll be healthy. Now, there are, of course, essential truths in that. If you have enough sleep, of course, your brain will be much more happy. Um, and if you eat healthy, of course, your body's going to function better. But we can also see that go a little bit, today you have it's, the polarization is extreme between people who are extremely meticulous about their health and, and then people who just don't give so much damn and who have other compulsions that they need to deal with and, get lost in the sugar kick. I for sure love chocolate. I'm not going to stop with it, and I don't believe dark chocolate to be chocolate. It's one of my things, because I always come back to the part in the middle. What is health? Health is not just living a rigid, routinely life, aka Virgo, or a life without boundaries, going with the flow all the time and just like, yes, winging it as Pisces. It's somewhere in between structure and adventure. If you think of Pisces as adventure, the time of your life where the times in your life where you don't have a plan, where you can just leave it open, where you can go with the flow, where you can eat whatever you want, whatever pops up, you know, um, that would be a more Piscean attitude, and it's very healthy to do that occasionally. Because if you just go into, like, I have to get to bed like this and that, and I have to do this and so all the time, which is a more Virgo attitude. And that can also be extremely healthy at times, but it can easily, turn into some sort of rigidity where there's a certain anxiety associated with letting go and with opening up. Now, on this axis, we also have the whole eating disorder problem. If you can see Pisces as, well, overeating or bulimia, you have Virgo as anorexia. And it's part of the same axis. It's just, same, same stuff, different wrapping. And I don't, you don't even have to put it into the world of food. It's also a matter of, um, an attitude in your life, because some people live very anorectically. It's like, I get up very our success formula is like work, 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 work. And our on the other end, you have all the artists and the people who are like floating around, and maybe also living a little bit in excess. You get all the drug abuse and the late nights, bohemian wine indulging. That would be on the other end of it. And they need each other. They both need each other. The middle path is something that I kind of always come back to. It's when I first read about it in Buddhist philosophy, I thought, like, now there's me. It could be because I'm Pluto in Libra, who knows, but it resonates as something that would work, because sometimes you need a little bit of both in order to be happy. And I think that middle path could also help us understand how we can solve things on earth. Yes, that person over there at that polarized end here, believing so and so about what's going on for the time being, having those opinions, there's something in it. Maybe we should listen. Maybe we should just try to get the whole thing back in the middle again. Now and then it goes for both parties. And if we can't forgive, we won't be able to listen. So we end up carrying old grudges. And as I'm thinking that, COVID and this war, this whole situation with globalization and internationality, it is part of an initiation that we're doing collectively now. And that initiation has to do about waking up and becoming aware of that whatever you have inside of you, whatever you transmit to the surroundings, whatever you indulge in, is something you also create. If we are to become co-creators, and I think that would be something to aim for instead of just being passive recipients of life, this is also the axis of Virgo Pisces. Virgo creates. It's doing its thing, and Pisces is more about relaxing and seeing what life offers you, what life is offering you, what you can receive without necessarily giving so much back. And we need both. Otherwise, we get into the situation where you have one that gives and the other that receives. And one will feel taken advantage of by the other. One will feel like a victim. The other will feel like the giver, the caretaker, the one who provides. And we see these balances very frequently in people's personal lives. So that's why it's so important for me to kind of communicate that we have to be capable of doing both. We have to be capable of giving, creating. This is what I want to share with my community. This is the energy that I want to share. Let's say it was the energy of unconditional love, the energy of non-judgment. That would be nice. I would shower in that one. I would hang around that person for sure. Oh, finally! It was fun here, you know? I don't say that's your gift, right? And other times you would also be in a state where you could say, oh, look at that, what life brought me. And you would receive it without feeling shame. You would give it without feeling shame. Now we all slip and fall. By all means, I'm the first one to admit that. But it's very interesting to see that, this type of, thinking is not about perfectionism, and it's not about necessarily being more correct than others. It's about creating a flow in your life that's healthy, not just for you, but also for your surroundings. And the same interview with Joe Rogan, it was very interesting. He had Sadhguru on, and I'm like, oh, this funny guy, I gotta hear him out. And he said something about, as I was walking into my yoga studio yesterday, and I had it on my headphones, he said something about yoga. And I thought I'd end with that, because in this time of overwhelm, where everything is a little much, it's like, oh dear, it's a little much. I don't know how to process this. Especially this full moon, you've got to sleep a lot, you've got to process a lot, you've got to, uh, you know, uh, work on finding your will to live again, because it's so much that a lot of people are just like, dear Lord, I just want to give up, I just want to let go and not care anymore. And yeah, it's very understandable. Give yourself a break. It's weekend. Do something incredibly nice for yourself. Get back into alignment. Be very tender with your own needs. Do not judge. Whatever comes up, what you need, right? So as I was walking into my yoga studio, he said something about that, and I was like, oh, this can't be true. I'm just walking into my yoga studio. He said something. Yoga is very efficient energy wise, because it's about the mechanics of the body. And you can look at the mechanics of the body, particularly, this is my comment, around the spine. The spine are these little things that are layered one on top of the other. If they are misaligned in one way or another, your head is either tilted too far back or too far forward, or you're crooked like this or that, the energy that flows through the body is not going to flow well. It's inefficient. So the mechanics of the body, where we twist and turn with the yoga, which means to unite, is about getting the flow of the body back into function again. And what happens inside our bodies then is that we get access to peace and bliss and all the things that we try to find on the outside. It's there inside, which was also a point Sadhguru made. But it's something that I can definitely say that without that kind of a realignment all the time, and it has to be done quite frequently. It's like flossing. You can't just do it once a month. You have to do it every day, actually. And it's more like a sadhana, like a practice. So in this time where everything is a little bit overwhelming, and it can challenge the mechanics of our bodies and cause disruption in our flows, it's even more important to have some sort of spiritual practice that maybe is completely free from spiritual dogmas or belief systems, hopefully so, because that's not what you need right now. Maybe it's just something for your body. It could be easy. It could be like a breath technique or whatever you feel is available for you, but somehow find a way to kind of get back in alignment again and get into that flow again. Of course, it takes effort. It takes willingness. It takes willingness to let go of the things you cannot do anything about, and willingness to do something with the things you can do. And that's also a spiritual part of this axis. What is what is within your control and what is not within your control? What do you have to surrender to? And if you can figure that one out, Oh, I can't control this. Well, I can let go. Can I let go? Well, if you have faith, you can let go. If you can figure that one out, I'm sure you will feel much, much better, and you will feel much stronger, like your immune system will be stronger. And it is being greatly challenged for the time being. So, that is what I hope you will find inspiration to do during this full moon. Now it's just around the corner that the moon will go into Aries and no, go into Libra, and we will have another kind of energy coming. And, you know, in just a few days, we are crossing into the world of Aries. Now, I've learned not to take my joys in advance because the world is at a very challenging spot. So we'll see. But, fire up your immune system, get stronger within yourself, and allow yourself to have a moment of peace, even if everything else seems a little disorganized for the time being. So, have a good one. Ciao, ciao.